For 60 years, nearly 60 years, a Tri-Cities historic site claimed to hold an important place in Tennessee and United States history. I'm Sarah Diamond.
And I'm Josh Smith. Despite the claim, some questions linger about the accuracy of Rocky Mount's story, and some want a fresh look at all the evidence. The state of Tennessee says Rocky Mount Living History Museum in Piney Flats is the 1791 home of pioneer William Cobb, the host of Southwest Territorial Governor William Blount, making this the territorial capital.
This was where government took place.
A claim so important, we named it a Tri-Cities original in a report earlier this year. But after that aired,
I just don't see how that could ever be possible.
We heard from David Bachman, son of Sally Massengill Bachman, who, along with her parents, transferred the property to the state in the late 1950s.
I did believe it was true for many years. Yes, I did, because that was the oral history, the story that was told to me.
But Bachman says in time that changed for him and his mother, a longtime board member.
She began to believe that the story was not right, but she did not want to rock the boat.
Turns out they were not alone.
Nobody can find evidence that William Cobb lived at a place called Rocky Mount.
Lucy Gump is a former Rocky Mount board member. She says in the 1990s she heard a college professor question the Rocky Mount story. So she set out to prove him wrong, scouring through original records from the late 1700s. The result?
I could find no evidence that William Cobb lived at a place called Rocky Mount. Question is where all this happened.
Gump says she took her findings to the Rocky Mount Board. Their response?
My memory is that I was ignored.
So Lucy Gump left the Rocky Mount Board. But questions did not go away. In 2006, the Tennessee Historical Commission and the University of Tennessee lab tested logs in the home and a stump under the house and found this house was not on this spot in 1791.
The house that's there now actually postdates that time, not 1791, but more like 1828.
A clarification now explained in the Rocky Mount Museum. Minutes from a 1957 State Historic Commission meeting show even prior to the decision to acquire Rocky Mount, there were questions raised concerning the authenticity of the house. 15 months later, minutes show members were satisfied as to the authenticity of the Cobb house and called it a valuable historic site, which the state should own. In response to our request to see evidence for the Rocky Mount claim, the site's current and former directors traveled to Nashville to find the original documents cited by another Massengill descendant who led the 1950s push to declare Rocky Mount a historic shrine.
She states in the minutes that they have proof by way of deeds, abstracts, wills, etc., that gives no question that this isn't the real deal. There's no record of that. There's no record of it in the Tennessee Historical Commission minutes. There's no report at the Tennessee Historical Commission offices. There's no record of it in the Tennessee State Library and Archives.
While Rocky Mount says there's no surviving document proving the state's claim, two 1783 contracts do show William Cobb owning land in the area, but they say it's impossible to know exactly where. Still,
I've not heard or seen anything or seen documentary proof that William Cobb's historic Rocky Mount was someplace else. So it's kind of like, show me the money. If this isn't it, that's possible. But then again, if it isn't it, then where would it be? I think in the absence of any evidence to the contrary, we have to assume that people decades ago were practical, responsible, and good citizens of the state of Tennessee, that nobody would have tried to work a bogus deal on the state.
But Lucy Gump says it's time for a fresh look at all the evidence.
We need to get it right. Whatever the history is, we need to look at the evidence that's available and try to tell the story as accurately as it is possible from the evidence we have, and there's a lot of evidence.
She and Massengill descendant David Bachman say they want Rocky Mount to thrive with a story that no longer lives in the shadow of any questions.
If we can't be honest about our own history, If we can't do that, how are we going to move forward in the future?
Meanwhile, the head of the Tennessee Historical Commission said he has not seen any evidence that discredits the current Rocky Mount narrative, but he said changes would be made if any evidence is uncovered. Sarah?